Good morning. Ye, ye, ye. It is America. This is America. Yeah, we're out here just live streaming on this lovely day. Gonna go and live stream for a while. Don't really know how long. Maybe for like a couple hours, like 3, 4 hours, maybe maybe just 1 hour. Who knows? I'll just do what I feel like doing until I get bored. It's really hot out here today. What the fuck? You know what? We're just taking our shirt off. We're big chilling out here. I'm a man. I have the privilege to do this. So, we're gonna take advantage of my privilege. Ayo. Also, there's nothing inherently sexual about men's nipples, so I mean, there's that, nothing to do with reproduction or fertility. Let's copy that, place that in here, click. I used a controversial argument. Did it work? I don't know. Let's find out, though. Feeling it's not going to be negative utilitarianism. It's just going to be a trash argument, but I like to hear arguments.
So what if we tranquilized an animal and then sexually exploited them?
No, I don't agree.
No. Why not, though?
Interesting. That's a good utilitarian hypothetical analogy. Okay. Fuck. Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna let them do a little argument, and then I'm gonna do the negative utilitarian argument. But I have a feeling I can already answer this pretty easily.
Hi, David. Nice to meet you. My name is Ed. Today I'm at Boston University, and I have a banner that says, "Why aren't you vegan yet?" You very kindly come over, you sat down, which I appreciate so much. But now I'm interested to know what your response to that question is.
Yeah, so I think I've been eating meat my entire life, and I do think it's a good source of protein. I'm aware there's a lot of other sources of protein, and a lot of my friends are vegetarian. And I just think that, like, in general, I just really like the taste of meat, and I think that, in my opinion, that it's like, I think it's worth it, I guess, in that sense. And
so do you think that the enjoyment you get from eating animal products justifies what happens to animals?
I would say that if they're like, I know there's no such thing as, like, I guess, humanely killing an animal, but I think if they are humanely killed and, like, they don't feel any pain when it happens, then I think that it could be justified, that the enjoyment's worth it, because I think there's, like, different views about what an animal, like different levels of, like, how important an animal is. And there's obviously, like, saying that, like, humans might be at, like, the top of the food chain, and that they might be considered to be more important. So in that sense, I'd say, like, if they're humanely killed, then I could argue that it would be justified.
But you did say before that you kind of started by saying that there isn't a humane way to kill an animal, but then you're saying if they are humanely killed. So I guess I'm wondering, what is a humane way to kill an animal?
Yeah, I did like contradict myself earlier, but I would say a humane way to kill an animal is just in not feeling any pain. And again, I still will say that, like, at the end of the day, killing an animal is not a good thing to do, but if I had to kill an animal, then humanely would be without feeling pain.
But you don't have to.
That's true. I don't have to kill an animal.
So why do you?
Because I like the taste of the animal.
Yeah. But and that kind of puts us in a little bit of a cycle, because I guess the point is, if we are in a situation like you and I are, where there isn't this requirement for us to consume animals, and we recognize that it's better to not kill them than to kill them, my argument would then be that, well, there is no such thing as a humane way to kill an animal when the situation that we're in. Do you agree with that or disagree?
I agree with you. I think it has to do something more with, like, the empathy I feel for animals and that disconnect, I guess. I think maybe you would feel more empathy for animals and, like, killing them, and for me it's like, I think they're more of a resource that if they're humanely killed, then I would feel less bad about eating them, and to me, like, consuming them would be worth the enjoyment.
So I guess with that in mind, then, when we say it worth it, does that mean that Are there limitations to things that we can or should do to animals based purely on enjoyment?
It depends. Like if they can like feel that they're being tortured, or if that they feel that they're like if they feel pain to an extent, I think there is a limitation on what we should be able to do. Like I don't think we should be like caging up animals, but if they are humanely raised and killed and they don't realize what's happening to them, I do think that it could be worth it.
So it's about reducing suffering overall. We recognize that situations where there is obvious suffering, such as cages and such, is bad, and so we think that situations that reduce suffering are preferable. But I guess the question is maybe a little bit different to that, which is that if we recognize that the reduction of suffering or animal suffering is preferable, whilst we recognize that a system of farming that takes them out of cages is better than a system of farming that keeps them in cages, is a system of farming that doesn't have animals involved at all the furthest reduction of animal suffering that we can achieve from our food choices? In other words, if we want to reduce animal suffering, surely taking them out of farms in totality is the best way to do that.
Yes, I agree with you with that. I think that would be the best way to reduce animal suffering. At the same time, I do think that for human benefit, or like for human enjoyment, I guess that there should be like kind of a balance in between like what animals deserve and what humans can get out of animals. And I think that in that sense, animals, as long as they're not feeling it really, and like they don't feel the pain, and they have like freedom to like a decent extent, I'd say it still would be beneficial for humans for like their enjoyment to eat animals.
So let's say that there's an animal who's walking past us now. Let's go for the classic example. Let's say they're a dog. If someone was to shoot that dog without the dog suffering, does that then make it moral?
No, I do not believe so.
Why not?
Because I think the dog, I guess I also think that animals have different levels of like I would treat animals differently depending on the animal that they are. So I think for a dog, I view it as more like probably slightly more intelligent than a chicken per se, and I feel like it has.
Oh
yeah, I would say like if it's like a
pigs are more
domesticated dog or something,
dog.
it would have more value towards humans like alive. Let's say.
What about a stray dog?
It depends. I think that like is a bit closer. I wouldn't be sure yet. Like I'm not very close to chickens at all. So
no. But does your emotional proximity to an animal decide whether or not they should be allowed to live without being having exploitation inflicted upon them?
I think for me personally, maybe. Like, I think that my emotional proximity would decide. Like, if you had me choose between whether I want a stray dog to live or a chicken to live, I'd probably choose the stray dog. So I think it affects.
What about if we have another option, which is the stray dog, the chicken, or both get to live? What would we choose then?
I would choose both get to live.
So why don't you do that every day?
Because I still think I get more enjoyment from.
So you wouldn't choose both get to live?
If I had to eat one.
What if you don't have to?
If I don't have to eat one, but I want to eat one, I would still choose that I would kill the chicken to eat it.
But you said that you choose for both to survive if you could.
If I could, and
which you can.
That's true, I could. But like, ideally, if I didn't have to eat any of them.
Which you don't.
That's true, but I want to.
Exactly.
So it's more like
you don't want both to live. You want one to die.
For the purposes of eating it, yes, I want one. Yeah, and I would choose the chicken to die.
So why is it then okay for an animal to be killed in a situation where they don't have to because you want them to, but not okay for another animal to be killed in a situation when it's the same? When fundamentally what we're talking about is the taking of an animal's life when we have an option which is to not take either animal's life. Like, why is it justified to kill the chicken when we don't have to?
If it's like a stray dog and like I felt like I really wanted to eat a dog, let's say, then I think it would be like similar, like still justified, like in a society where like dogs are basically like chickens and like it was normal to eat them.
Okay, but now we're almost appealing to societal norms. We're saying if society said it was acceptable, it would be acceptable. But do societal norms automatically describe what is moral or immoral?
Not always, but I think a lot of the times it is a good representation. And I think that it mainly just depends on like down into like, I guess, what humans get out of the animal. And
well, yeah, society is always going to be a good representation of what's moral or immoral in general, because if you look at humanity as a whole, we all stem from common ancestors. So our morality stems from our common ancestry of microcellular organisms, like just unicellular organisms and stuff like that. So it's just avoidance, basically. Avoidance behavior, trying to avoid pain is basically what we consider ethical. So yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, you could look at general society to see what's generally moral and immoral, but that doesn't mean the nuances of it are going to be exact.
I think if they're able to get more enjoyment out of eating it, then
so pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure.
So it's okay to do something to an animal if we get pleasure from it.
If it's like painless and harmless, or like not harmless but painless and like. Yeah.
So what if we tranquilized an animal and then sexually exploited them?
No, I don't agree.
No. Why not though?
I think that's a bit. I don't know. I think I just would not feel comfortable.
They're not suffering, and it's for enjoyment.
That's true. That's a valid point.
So why is that wrong?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Because I guess if that's wrong, why is it not wrong to take their life from them? So late.
I think that taking their life from them's like a quick way out. I guess if they were like permanent, I still wouldn't say it's okay. It's hard to like put a disconnect from like getting like sexual enjoyment out of an animal and like it just being tranquilized and like that like that's a good point you make, but I would say that I do think it's like societal norms that
just one non-taboo perspective, including here in the US as well, that we would consider, I think a lot of us would consider to be wrong, regardless of them being societal norms. And I also think that there's many things that are societal norms.
Well, yeah, I guess in that exact scenario where you said mitigates risk, in the actual world, no one's tranquilizing animals and then fucking them while they're asleep. Goat fuckers are fucking them while they're awake. So they're not mitigating any risk. So in reality, most, if not all things of bestiality are immoral. They're unethical because you're going to exploit it, and it's going to feel some type of potential harm. I mean, we can acknowledge that having sex feels physically good, regardless if you're being raped or not. It feels physically good because you're stimulating sexual organs. But mentally speaking, it can be quite unpleasant and a really horrible thing to go through. Similarly, I think it's the same with animals. People have told me that, like, well, animals clearly show signs of being in pleasure when being molested or raped or whatever you want to call it. But that's just a physical reaction. We don't know what they're thinking. We don't know how they react, especially given the fact that they're beaten daily and stuff like that. They're forced into massively uncomfortable situations where they have no hope of preventing it. So, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just taking the best they can out of their fucking situation. So I don't think that given risk, which is what utilitarianism is all about, because we don't have a mega calculation machine to be like, boop, 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 this thing will feel point something units of pain, therefore unethical because pleasure is unnecessary, beep, boop. We don't have that. So we just have to make risk assessments based off of if we think it's possible something might get pain out of this. And if there's going to be any pain out of it, then there's no reason to cause pain unless we're preventing a greater amount of pain. So given an orgasm is basically just pleasure or whatever, you'd have to kind of ask yourself, is it worth bringing something into existence for the whole entire purpose of being sexually exploited, aka farm animals and stuff? No. Now, in the case of if you were to put an animal under and then do that, it's a little bit more weird from a utilities perspective because you're mitigating risk and the animal has no comprehension of what's going on to it and anything of that nature. And honestly, sentience is pain, so being put under is a good thing. So in those weird utilitarian senses, I can't say it's a wrong thing to do. And I wouldn't say it's a wrong thing to do. I'd say I'm disgusted by it, yeah, which is natural biological thing to be disgusted by it due to the taboo of our nature. And I won't deny that I'm disgusted by it and that I would like frown upon anybody doing something like that, even if it were being tranquilized while doing so. But that's just solely because of societal expectations and just like a disgust of human nature and stuff like that. Like I can't actually deny that it's like not a bad thing though. Like because there is no pain going on, there is no bad going on. It's just that simple. And if, say, somehow you could argue that that person is like so sexually deprived that they're like on the brink of suicide or something, but if they just got a nut in, they would be all Gucci. Then if you argue that, then you could argue putting the animal under would objectively be the good thing to do, and then having that occur. So, and I wouldn't have an argument against it. So, when it comes down to it, is a very weird issue. But because it doesn't take place in reality ever, it's just not practical, I guess, to talk about. It's good for this example just because he's trying to convince the person to go vegan for deontological reasons, because this man seems to be somewhat of a deontologist, somewhat of a consequentialist involving pain, but he also seems to have deontological leanings because he doesn't seem to fully understand utility. So it's a good way to get someone to go vegan, I don't deny that. But it is a weird argument. That's basically all I have to say on that for now. Let's just play the rest of the video, I guess.
Or there are things that are not considered societal norms, which should be. You know, in a country around the world, people are still persecuted for their sexuality. In many countries around the world, people are still persecuted for their gender. So I think that there is a fundamental issue with appealing to societal norms, because then it allows societies around the world that clearly have very bad norms, including some here in the US, it allows those norms to be perpetuated with the false belief that those norms make those things acceptable or not acceptable, right?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that not everything can be like justified through societal norms, but I do think I feel like eating, I guess my point I think is like eating meat is not the same as like sexually assaulting like a tranquilized thing. And
but one results in death and the other does not. And I guess what I'm interested in, I don't think either is acceptable, obviously, but what I'm interested in is the experience of the animal. And I think it's wrong to
That's the thing. That's the thing. You just said exactly what the key word is. You said, I care about the experience of an animal, but when they're being tranquilized, you quite literally turn off their experience, and experience generates value. So if there's no experience going on, I can't say there's any disvalue going on either. And that's pretty much the conundrum you just put us in, is that experience generates value. It's the only thing that does generate value. And you just give us a hypothetical where the harm that would occur if they were conscious occurs in a state where the consciousness is being deprived from them. So the harm's negated. And it's really difficult to look at that from evolutionary perspective, because we have billions of years where there's no such thing as euthanasia, there's no such thing as tranquilization or putting people under. We're not inherently built from evolutionary perspective to have empathy for things put under, and or like, you know, we're not supposed to, like, I guess like we have empathy programmed into us to have like empathy for all living things that are like similar enough to us from a mammalian's perspective to like engage in social empathy. But we're not programmed to understand that like things put under don't feel pain, and therefore empathy should be limited in such situations. Like you wouldn't, like if someone's being cut into a conscious, you know, that's worthy of horror. But if someone's being cut into a put under, it's just a surgery. It's nothing really bad happening there. So at least not until they're conscious. So like if you were to cut into someone and they're like put under and then just not repair them and just leave them all mutilated and shit, then when they become unconscious, they're going to be in a massive amount of pain and distress. So I mean, like you can harm someone while they're put under, but the harm won't be taking place while they're put under. It'll be taking place once their experience returns. So that's kind of what is weird about this situation.
Because it's infringing on their autonomy and their rights, and their right not to have these things done to them. I think that they deserve basic autonomy. But then killing them is also.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, you could argue from the town perspective, maybe you shouldn't even put them under to begin with. But I don't think autonomy has anything to do with anything. I mean, if you really wanted to maximize autonomy, you could allow rapists and murderers to go about raping and murder. Like, if you really wanted to maximize autonomy, you should be like, you shouldn't care what this guy does when he eats animals. I mean, it should be his right to eat an animal from an autonomous point of view, and that should be the animal's right to try to defend themselves. And if they fail, they fail. It's just a product of them reacting to their environment. So I really don't get the whole purpose of inherent value to autonomy. It doesn't make sense to me.
So an infringement on their autonomy and their basic right to be in control of their own body, you know?
Yo, how's it going, Philly?
I'd say, yeah, I'd say like, no, that's definitely valid.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So what about you now then? Why aren't you vegan yet?
I think the same reason as the beginning.
Good.
Just, yeah.
Glad to hear
let's put
you're
this into
good.
perspective then. And I don't want to keep you forever, David, so you go whenever you need to. But let's put this into perspective. When we eat an animal or an animal product, that's like 15 minutes, isn't it? It's a meal. Sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more, but let's say 15 minutes. So we get that pleasure for 15 minutes. And now what we're saying is that the entire experience of an animal, so how they're raised, and remember 99% of animals in the US are factory farmed. So just these are where they're mutilated, kept in cages. So basically, if you're getting food from Boston University, it's coming from these awful places. So now we're saying that this 15 minutes of sensory pleasure is more important than the entire experience and life of an animal and all the suffering that they endure and the eventual slaughter of the animal. When we put that into perspective, I suppose, what do you think does have high value? 15 minutes of sensory pleasure or the entire lived experiences and life of the animal who has suffered and then been killed for that 15 minutes of sensory pleasure? What do you think is high value?
Again, I'd say like it depends on like how the animal's raised. Again, if it's like a painless procedure, like, and yeah, like the reality is it's not. But I think if it were like,
Well, from a utilitarian point of view, you're just kind of representing it wrong. I'd still say as a negative utilitarian, it's not gonna matter. You shouldn't raise animals to begin with or bring things into existence and all that. But from a pure utilitarian perspective, one cow feeds multiple individuals. So 15 minutes of pleasure is what is getting out of it. That could be potentially like 100 people with 15 minutes of pleasure versus the one animal. Now, sure, I don't think that compensates for the struggle of the animal's life, not even remotely so. But I do think he kind of interpreted the pleasure perspective a little bit, just because I mean he could argue that there's far more people here. Let's see how many burgers does a cow make? How many burgers can a cow make? 800, approximately 840 quarter-pound hamburgers. Okay, so basically you can feed about 400 people essentially from a single cow. So about 400 people get 15 minutes of pleasure per single animal's death, which a beef cow lives this for 16 months. Sorry, not 16 months, 6 months. So, as a utilitarian, you could argue maybe somehow human experience, taste pleasure is worth 6 months of suffering. That's why I'm not a utilitarian. I'm a negative utilitarian. But it is an interesting perspective. I mean, he didn't really give utilitarianism their whole argument. So I'm just doing that, not that it has any validity to it, but I'm just representing utilitarianism as a whole. Even though I'm a negative utilitarian, so I have disagreements with utilitarianism strongly, I still think that utilitarian argument could be presented a little bit better here.
if we were able to achieve like a society where it's like painless and they had like freedom to roam around, whatever, and then they were killed, I'd say that it would probably be like, to me, it'd be worth it. It depends on the person, I think.
But even if, and let's say I don't argue with you on that point, even though I think that is wrong, but let's take that out of the equation for a second. That's not the society we're in. That's not the choice that you have. You have a choice between consuming plants or consuming animal products. And every single one of those animal products, even if they don't come from factory farms, comes from a farm where they are mutilated. Even grass-fed farm animals are mutilated, where they're slaughtered at a fraction of their lifespan. And that slaughtering is not done in a way that is conducive of reducing suffering and pain. You know, there's still fear involved in slaughter. So the situation we have now isn't even one where you can buy that product that you think is okay. That product doesn't exist. So with the situation you have now, what will you do ethically speaking, or just from a behavioral perspective?
I think ethically speaking, my ethics like in this sense aren't probably where it should be, because I find it very difficult to give up meat. I think ethically being vegan is the right thing to do. Like, I do agree with you on that. I just think that I prefer taking the easy way out, and like I think it's much more difficult for me to get the nutrients from being vegan, even though I do know it's very possible. And yeah, I think for me, it's what I'm raised with, and
Everybody prefers the easy way out. I believed in the vegan ideology for about 6 years before I went vegan, well, scrapitarian or whatever you want to call it. I went vegan for about 5 months now. I was like, it's more consistent to be scrapitarian anyways. But I don't know, man. It just seems like it's always the easy thing to do. Everybody does the easy thing. Is what Bill Gates says. Lazy people make money because they do easy shit. But we shouldn't encourage laziness, nor should we necessarily encourage the easy way out of things. We should encourage what is correct and what is right, what is most productive in terms of eliminating suffering, which is all that matters, because experience generates value. But yeah, let's just play the rest of the video.
I would just take like the easier way.
Look, obviously, I know that we're only together 20 minutes or so, and to change your entire paradigm and how you live is unlikely. And I appreciate that. You know, I don't expect you to sit down and spend 20 minutes with me and go, you know what, Ed, this is it from this moment on. I'm going to be vegan. Then we fist bump and high five. I don't expect that to be what happens. But I think you said that ethically. You said something about your ethics, and I actually think that what you said is incorrect. I think that you have the right ethics. Your ethics are there because you agree with pretty much everything that I've said. So ethically, you and I are not that different. It's just from a behavioral perspective, we haven't quite aligned our behaviors yet with the ethics that we both mostly share in common. So I think from the position you're in, it's just about deciding, like, is it important to do something that aligns with you ethically or something that's easy? And I think that following ethics is more important than following ease and convenience, because following ease and convenience would mean that we don't do things, both societally but also individually speaking, that we should do. And even from like an academic perspective, you're studying something that's not easy, but you're doing it because it's the right thing for you and because it's conducive to you creating a better life for yourself. It's a similar principle. You making the choice to eat more plants and be vegan isn't necessarily the easiest thing for you, but it's conducive to creating a better life for others. It's about viewing that hardship not from your own perspective, but viewing it from the perspective of those who will benefit from it. And from an academic perspective, you benefit, but from a vegan perspective, they benefit, and the benefit that they receive is far greater than the minor inconvenience that you feel at the beginning. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, have a great day and a great life.
Well, that was an interesting little thing. Talking about random ass philosophy that rarely is talked about on YouTube. So, if you want to hear my perspectives on bestiality, go back earlier in the video. Wow. But yeah, fuck the furries. But when it comes down to it, yeah, I mean, I have opinions that are more advanced and thought out than other people. I mean, I just pontificated right here in the spot, but like, still, I feel like I can pontificate better than most people think in general. So, yeah, it was an interesting perspective of a video. Hmm. Don't commit war crime. Wait, so fuck the furry or fuck the furry? Wait, so fuck the furry or fuck the furries? No, fuck the furry. Like, as in like, furries are weirdos, as in like that. Not like fuck furries, as in like bang furries, as in like have sex with them. No, fuck furries, as in like furries are a bunch of weirdos. But at the same time, there's nothing inherently wrong with it, an ethical point of view. So I'd have nothing wrong with furries. There's nothing wrong with being a furry, but at the same time, they're a bunch of fucking weirdos. So that's basically where I'm at. Like, it's just like there's nothing wrong with being a furry. But if you're a furry, I'm not gonna be friends with you. I'm just kidding. If you're a furry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. We can be acquaintances. But yeah, basically, this video I had like a real deep question, like what if you tranquilize an animal so they're unconscious and then you sexually exploit them? And I was just like, whoa, okay, that's a weird question. But from a utilitarian perspective, because experience generates value, would I have to say that like there's nothing inherently wrong so long as you properly tranquilize the animal and like there's no like other all things being equal, there's no inherent mental changes that come about from doing this. Then I'd say it would be not wrong. It wouldn't necessarily be right. Like you shouldn't do it unless, like, say you're like some type of like sexually deprived person, and then like that was the only way you could do it. Then I'd say it's like an obligation from a utilitarian perspective. But yeah, it's just the nuances of utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is like very weird belief system, but it's like the most accurate and true belief system. It has a lot of weird things in terms of like our evolutionary programming, because we don't necessarily align our evolutionary programming with per se ethics, because experience generates value, but experience is a negative thing. But evolution wants experience to keep on occurring so that like we can keep reproducing and spreading our DNA molecules. So when it comes down to what we naturally have programmed into us doesn't really necessarily align with what is inherently good or bad. So it's more difficult than what we originally think by just like listening to things and just being like, oh, this is what I feel. though feelings can typically align with what is true. So typically speaking, bestiality, furries, and all that other stuff is wrong because you're inherently exploiting another being and putting them at the risk of harm. But in weird, nuanced situations like putting something under, it's a little bit different because you're taking away experience, and the only time something can be harmed is when they're experiencing. You can't harm something that's dead, but you can harm something that's alive and experiencing things. So it's like if you like a sleeping person. If you kill a sleeping person, you can't actually harm a sleeping person. But if you were to cut a sleeping person open and then they wake up and they see themselves like cut open, then they'll be like, "Holy shit, I'm in pain and I'm suffering and I'm horrified." So the pain occurs once they're awake. It doesn't occur when they're asleep. Similar if someone's unconscious or dead, you can't actually harm the unconscious or dead person, but the instant they wake up and are aware of the harm that's been occurring to them, then harm has occurred and it's wrong, and you shouldn't have done that because of the harm that would never have occurred. And I think it's the same with the animal example. That essentially, if you were to have sex with an animal, that would be wrong because you're essentially putting a risk that the animal's not going to enjoy it and have a bad experience. And given you can't ask consent from an animal, you are basically putting at a significant amount of risk of having a bad experience. So you probably, by probably, I mean you shouldn't have sex with animals. But if you were to put one under, which is never going to happen in a real life case because that would be like expensive and a bunch of other things. But if, like, in a weird hypothetical example, if you could somehow put an animal under stress free, zero awareness of what is about to occur, it's just vibing in a field, having a great jolly time, and then just like boop, and it passes out. You know, I can't say it's wrong. I can say it's weird. I can say it's really fucking weird. It's really taboo. It's really disgusting. It's gross. It's vile. But I can't say it's wrong because it's not inherently bringing harm to a being. The harm will never be experienced and will never occur, it will never be processed in the mind. The only way it can be processed as a harmful thing is by someone who is a human being witnessing it and taking disgust from it. So, all things being equal, I can't say that it's wrong, but that's just a very weird, nuanced thing, utilitarianism and like weird hypothetical pocket dimension type of analogies. In reality, bestiality is always, if not always, almost always, if not completely always wrong. So yeah, that's basically our little interesting fucking segment today. Weird segment, but that's what popped up on my YouTube channel was something about bestiality. So we're gonna talk about bestiality because it's an ethical dilemma. And I love talking about ethical dilemmas, especially the ones that are really fucking weird and make people be like, what the hell? Because being make people be like, "What the hell?" is just an interesting thing. It's just like it's an interesting conversation. It gets views and it makes me think. So, and me thinking is always fun. Well, let's take a gander. Yeah, let's pause the rest of this video. I wasn't watching this on stream yesterday, but I was watching this on my phone personally by myself. We're just gonna go back a little bit.
Human beings are still at a place where it's very difficult. I mean, if there's a purpose, I met some scholars here last night. Wonderful. We had a wonderful discussion and so forth. And so clearly there are people from countries throughout the world who can get together and recognize the the, the the limited nature of the focus of the countries they come from, and are working to overcome that. And but there are many other people for whom religion is so consuming that I think it's very difficult for them to overcome that. And so I would suspect, if we're saying what's going to happen over the next 20 years, is that we're going to see a continuation of what we've seen for a few thousand years. I wish I could be more optimistic about that. But nevertheless, I would think, and this is one, if I have to believe in being an academic, the purpose of in life is that I've always felt that if you could show people, if you could put a mirror up to people and they could look at themselves in the mirror and say, they have a self-image. I'm a good person. I'm doing right. I try to treat people fairly, et cetera, et cetera. But if you could show them a mirror, oh my goodness, here was in the Vietnam War, here were Americans. The Vietnamese people were gooks and slopes. They were VC, which is very close to VD, and they weren't fellow human beings. For example, could you imagine if an American serviceman today, wherever he was fighting or she was fighting, would come back and say, let's suppose they're Christians in this case, and they came back and said, well, today I killed 11 children of God. 3 of whom were children. There was a woman, and so on. If they could recognize, well, yes, they believe that all of us are children of God, but somehow those people, because they've done certain things, they're no longer children of God. They're evil. And yet you have, so there are 2 things going on in their minds. One is these people are children of God. No, they're evil, and therefore it's just to kill them. So anyway, if we could, I think for we academics, through our writing, in a sense, I would like to think that I'm holding up, in this case, particularly, for example, my books, Zen at War or Zen War Stories in particular, that I'm holding up a mirror to Buddhists and saying,
I guess I should explain this a little bit, what the context of this is. They're essentially talking about Zen Buddhism and how you can use Zen Buddhism to justify atrocities like murder, rape, a bunch of different things, like warfare in general. But essentially how, like, Zen Buddhism can allow you to, like, kind of detach yourself from reality to the point where you can essentially commit war crimes and crimes against humanity. And yeah, it's a really interesting topic. So,
is this who you're?
because EFILists in general are kind of enemies to religion, so we don't like religion. Religion's the enemy. It basically allows all this shithole to continue on. So yeah, fuck religion. Even Zen Buddhism, it has its flaws. It's about suffering, but it also has this weird disconnection element to it because it's about Zen, and it's fucking cringe.
Is this acceptable to repeat who you once were, even if you're not now? So I give lectures here in Japan, and I present this. And today, 70 years after the war, because most people didn't have a direct experience, they said that then. And it's kind of, I feel like our work is a little bit like giving a vaccination. That if you can, vaccination is what, some germs, and you react to that, your body reacts to that, it gets better prepared the next time those germs try to invade you. So at any rate, I would like to think that all of us, that all religionists of goodwill can, number one, recognize that we've not lived up to the highest tenets of our faith, and that all of our religions have done some horrible things, and that we could make some pledges to each other that to the extent that any of us has the power to influence ourselves, let alone other people, that we won't do it again. And I would like to believe, Frank, that we could grow, that this consciousness could grow, and that at some point it could effectively end what is no doubt going to continue on for a very long time. Tongue in cheek, I say, where are the Martians when we really need them? Because you can imagine if there were Martians, done some horrible things, and that we could make some pledges to each other that to the extent that any of us has the power to influence ourselves, let alone other people, that we won't do it again. And I would like to believe, Frank, that we could grow, that this consciousness could grow, and that at some point it could effectively end.
EFILism, baby. We have to grow in order to destroy ourselves. We have to become enlightened in order to realize that experience itself is a bad thing, and then it can end. Thank you, Mr. Zen Buddhist guy. You are very based.
Is no doubt going to continue on for a very long time. My tongue in cheek, I say, where are the Martians when we really need them? Because you can imagine if there were Martians and they were about to invade this planet, suddenly Iranians and Jews and Christians and anybody else, we'd all be Earthlings. We'd all be on the front lines. All of this stuff. But unfortunately, in the absence of Martians, we human beings are going to have to somehow figure it out for ourselves, and hopefully we can figure it out and we can overcome it before we destroy ourselves. But no guarantees.
It's a scary time that we live in. The interesting thing, I think, that you pointed out is that it's part of a very long-standing scary time.
That's right.
It's as though we are what we were, yet we keep increasing our technological ability to mete out greater and greater destruction.
That's right. Absolutely.
Even though we haven't, in that sense, changed all that much.
That's right. Absolutely.
We've just gotten better and more efficient at doing the bad things,
That's right.
and then hopefully sometimes we can do the same for the good things. So this really the final question I have is, I'd like to ask about being here at the IFOR conference on ethics, religion, and philosophy, and IFOR is very interdisciplinary. And so I guess my question is, more generally, what do you think is the most important aspect or benefit of interdisciplinary academic conferences?
One of the things that we didn't have a chance to talk about, but I do have one of my first attempts to look behind the scenes, that's look behind any particular religion and try to find something, the universal characteristics of this, is in a paper called Holy War, toward its universal characteristics. And what I found in writing that paper, it's online, by the way, so it's easily available.
So basically, he's just sick because he was sick
that
before and his
when
immune
it
system is a little bit
you
weaker.
get together, if
Okay.
someone talks Holy War, you say, oh, that's what theologians or specialists in religion. But really, there is always to so-called religious, if it is a holy war,
What time are y'all going to go out again? What are we all doing again one more time? I forgot what was going on today. But also, I have information to update you on stuff. So. Yo, whoever's watching, what is bopping? We've been talking about Zen Buddhism. We've been talking about bestiality. We've been talking about random ass topics. You may be like, why the fuck were you talking about bestiality? There's an answer to that question, but you have to watch earlier in the video to find out why.
there's two words,
That's
holy
the hook.
and war. Clausewitz made a very, I think, insightful, war is only diplomacy carried on by other means. And so clearly, war is a very political activity. Right? And for that reason, it's a historical activity. It's an economic activity because there's usually some kind of economic gain going on, the oil, for example. And therefore,
Oil.
it's an economic question, it's a historical question, it's a political question, and of course, it's a religious question. Right? And that's what we need to see when we're trying to just the question of holy war. Thank you, forgetting about all of the other ways that things, that all of the other causal factors. Just if we limit ourselves to holy war, we cannot understand holy war if it's only a bunch of theologians or specialists in Islam or Buddhism or whatever who get together and talk about it. It's got to be talked together in this collective effort. All of these people, all of our scholars, need to talk to each other across our scholarly boundaries to begin to understand the complexity of this particular phenomena. And that's what I love about an I4 conference, is that it gives us that opportunity to talk beyond boundaries that usually, for example, typical, conferences, there's a law conference and there's a historical conference, but seldom do those people talk to across the boundaries to each other. And I think this is the wonderful contribution I4 is making.
Thank you, Dr. Victoria, for taking the time to spend with us. Very much appreciate it.
Well, it's my privilege. It's especially I always come away from this conference with new friends, and we need to continue the conversation.
Yeah,
And
it's one of
that's
the greatest parts of this sort of a conference is we're getting to meet each other across disciplines, which is wonderful. So thanks to everybody at home for watching, and please visit if4.org for information on upcoming conferences and to read more about our keynotes and featured speakers. And I also encourage you to read Dr. Victoria's books. I know I'm certainly going to do so.
There we go. Well, Hey, my boy, how's it going? I was just talking to my mom about internal monologues and how a bunch of people lack internal monologues, and she theorizes that people don't actually lack internal monologues, but are just confused and don't understand that they're thinking and thoughts, but just don't know how to like explain it. It was an interesting conversation. It was fun. I have conversations with my mom like once a day, twice a day, sometimes about like random shit. I mean, my mom's cool, I guess. Like, she's kind of lame, but she's also kind of cool. So. What info do I have for you? Well, I talked to Kayla today. I was just curious, so I got like the DL on like a bunch of different shit. So I mean, are you guys still dating, by the way, or is it like officially done? So because it sounds pretty done. So It sounds- happy 4th of July, Kane. Happy 4th. I'm not really much of a patriot, you know. My title is literally Yee Merica, but I appreciate the congratulations of the 4th of July. It is a land of freedom, kind of, and it's a good holiday. It's fun. People drink. I'm already drunk. People hang out with friends. There's gonna be a cookout at my place later tonight. A bunch of people are coming over. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. 4th of July is always a blast, literally because fireworks are going off, but it's also just fun. Uh-oh. Yeah. Yeah, but we're having a little cookout here and stuff. My parents are gonna make me some vegan burgers. Fuck yeah. I'm glad. And a bunch of relatives are gonna come over and family friends, some people from around the neighborhood and shit. So it's gonna be a little bit of a blast. We have a nice yard. I don't know if you can see this, but like we have a nice yard. So it's good for hosting parties and stuff. We have plenty of space. You could secretly film them. I could secretly film them, but I don't have the desire to do so. uh, I mean, I'm definitely gonna be still live streaming when the party's going on. I mean, I'll probably eat dinner and like stop live streaming then. But like, other than that, like, I'm gonna keep live streaming throughout the whole day because there's nothing going on. Today's Tuesday. I don't have D&D going on. I don't have tomorrow. I have like 2 different interviews, but today is nothing. Shit for shat going on. I'm just big chilling, which is good. I don't like doing things. The fuck? I just saw a YouTube video. My notification is called "I don't date Asians," and I'm just like, why wouldn't you date Asians? Asians are like objectively like the hottest race. No, I'm just kidding. They're not objectively the hottest race, but in my opinion, they're the hottest of all the races. They've just got that like slim, thick, going on, and I'm just like, nice. They remind me of my brother. Well, I don't know why you keep on thinking about your brother when you have sex.
Kelly.
It's just because Asian guys remind me of my brother,
What the?
and that's why.
What the?
What?
You don't
Yeah, it's basically like saying like, oh yeah, I don't date white girls, even though like I live in America, because they remind me of my brother or some shit. That would be fucking weird. Or like, I guess like if I had a sister, it'd be like, I don't date, or like my mom or something. Like, I don't date white girls with brunette hair because they remind me of my mom or something. That'd just be weird. Be like, okay, so I exclude fucking 60% of the US population just because of phenotypical characteristics that are not exactly even remotely related to my bloodline. That's just fucking weird. But fair enough, I guess. Just hear them
date
out.
Asian guys.
I've never known.
Really?
Mm-mm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Move, nigga. Interesting. Hey.
That's what it felt like.
Huh?
That's what it felt like. Like, do you date colonizers? Konnichiwa. Can I eat some sushi out your pussy?
Have I heard about the Miranda Sings drama? I think you or someone else said something about Miranda Sings. Wasn't she like a pedophile or like not a pedophile, but like wasn't she like manipulating her younger fans to like donate to her or some shit? Like basically just manipulating young minds to like sexually, like being like, oh look at my body, I got big yitties. And nobody really likes Asian guys. No, that's true. Asian guys are short and so basically, yeah, she was manipulating her audience using her body to like pay her money and stuff. Is what I've heard, which is really not cool. I mean, one, it's an underage audience, so you shouldn't be using your body to manipulate underage people in general, and especially for money. That's just more fucked up. That's just layer of like weird prostitution type of like sexual exploitation vibes to it. You know, not that using your body to influence minor isn't exploitation of any sort. It's always going to be. But yeah, I haven't really heard much about the drama about Miranda Sings. I have only heard a little bit from you. I don't really pay attention to YouTube drama very much, like at all. I don't really care about drama besides my friend groups, which is enough drama in my friend groups to go around. So, when it comes down to it, I just focus on the drama in my personal life, which is present enough. I mean, my best friend committed suicide a couple months ago. Half of my friends are a bunch of fucking weirdos going through like breakups actively right now and stuff. Like I talked to like one of my friends, potentially ex-girlfriends, this morning about why they're breaking up with my friend and why they're having like weird issues with their current friendships and stuff. I love drama. Drama is great. But when it comes down to it, I don't have so much of a limit for drama. And I'm going to keep that to just like the drama that's relevant to my life, like my friends and my friends, rather than internet drama. As I said, in the past, I've had a lot of friends. So, I mean, I have plenty of drama myself without diving into internet drama.
Why don't you like Asian guys? Are you a race traitor?
A race?
Are you a
traitor?
race traitor?
No, like
you wouldn't even date a Vietnamese guy?
No, not really. I actually I don't know. They just come off like I get so close. Like they're just my friends. Like they give me like my brother. Like they remind me so much.
I think we need to ban the word like. Some of these people.
Like why? Like why would you like?
I feel like I feel like my friends they remind me to like my brother. Like
you know what like is? Like is the new That's what it is. Before people like, well,
I say like.
I
say like way too much, and I say way too much. But that's because I'm a psychopath, and we always do that. We may say and we say likes in order to make ourselves not seem dumb. We have like pauses and stuff that make it seem like I'm pontificating, being a big think, oui. But
so when people do that, it's really just to replace their thought is not made, so they just replace all that with that word. Like, like
could do.
Shut the fuck up.
Take a pause.
Which is equal to shutting the fuck up.
Reflect.
Shutting the fuck up, basically.
Saying there's like a good time to just pause and be like, let me think about what I'm going to say before I.
They remind me so much, like the way that they carry themselves. They remind me so much of my brother that it's like.
Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Okay, here's the thing. It's your dating preferences. It's your business. Don't care. You should be free to date whoever you want to date for whatever reason you want to date them. But saying Asian men remind me of your brother is one of the most biggest things I've ever heard. It insinuates the idea that all Asian men are alike, irrespective of height, skin tone, personality, upbringing, class.
Body
every
size
single one of them
reminds you of your brother.
That is stupid. That is incredibly fucking dumb.
She can't be. She's Asian. My bad.
Listen, it's just one of those things where I'm like, just have your preference and just say I don't want to talk about it. But don't get some goofy shit where I'm like, why you don't date black women? I don't want to date black women because criminality. What? Am I insinuating? Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Can you imagine if her brother just popped out the closet like Whitney Houston? I'm every Asian is all in me. That's what it feels like. Like, no. And you know what? Like when people get up on these
the remix is dope.
I'm every Asian.
Chopsticks and Asian bun, baby. I'm every Asian.
Just don't
do it, bro.
Just date what you want to date.
Do it, bro.
But don't come out here and say this goofy shit because that's when you start to make terrible stereotypes about whatever group you're talking about.
I have like a brotherly relationship with most Asian men that I meet.
Wait, can you scoot your chair into the table so we can get you a little better posture?
Can you put that mic closer? Put it in your mouth. Now use a bit of tongue. Yeah.
Walk.
Yeah. Hey, yeah.
What the fuck?
Whenever I meet a girl, she can do that sound effect. I don't know why. I'm like, yeah. Anyways, I don't know why. I'm like, damn, how are you so good at this? Hey, yeah. Anyways, big announcement. We're going on tour. What? Yes, we're on tour. What are we gonna do? We're gonna react to videos live? No, we're gonna do stand up. Crack jokes. Maybe you laugh, maybe you don't. But you're going to pay $75 to find out. So, show up. I mean, you might cheddar. Make sure you guys click the link in the description. I think the first couple of days we're doing Detroit. We're going to be doing
Washington,
Pittsburgh, and Washington. Yep. So those are the 3 Cs we're doing this late summer, end of August. And then after that, we're going to be doing the rest of America. We're likely going to go to Europe some parts. We're excited to get to catch you guys face to face.
I can't. I don't know. I can't describe it.
They remind you of
like they have the same
brother.
personality traits as like my brother.
That's a bit,
I don't know. And
are you saying all Asian men are the same?
No. I'm not ones that I've met.
All remind you
of
how your
like
brother
acts. Saying that.
Yes, the ones that I have met, yes. Or like one of my cousins or something. I don't know. It's just like I don't know.
What about like a nice Filipino boy?
Yeah, I've met a lot of them, yeah.
Laos? What about a guy from Laos?
Maybe
like American born, but Laos.
No.
Asians. She said Asians. She said Asians.
I don't know why this one guy
can name all of them if you want to.
Yeah, this Brian dude just be like, hey,
let me name. I know all of them.
I know Asian.
Asian.
So Laos, no. Cambodia, okay. We Malaysia,
Filipino,
Japanese, Korean.
What about a Malay?
How about North Koreans? They're built different, literally, starving and shit. Come on, no. Chinese, no. Mongolian, huh? No. Kazakh, they're kind of Asian, but also kind of Russian. No,
definitely. It sounds like not Vietnamese because your brother's Vietnamese, so that's like
Vietnamese. Like I don't know. It's just like we're too alike. Like I can relate to you so much that I can't learn anything. So it's like
Mongolian.
No.
Korean.
I was just joking. I was just joking. But this guy, he just keeps saying this. Oh my god! Okay, I'm gonna have to skip this guy too.
Korean, Japanese, Chinese.
Oh my god! He actually did it. I think this guy's more autistic than. Oh my god!
Wow. Okay.
He did that.
You just listen.
Now I know my ABC.
Yeah. You don't shut the fuck up.
Vietnamese. Okay. What about
What about
I'm running out of Asian countries.
Japan,
China. Thai.
I only know one Thai.
Indonesian.
How about like Filipino?
Okay, guys, I gotta skip this part. This is just
yes. Skip.
A few moments later,
I'm missing like at least 1 or 2 of the South.
He's still going. Oh my god! Let me skip again.
much later.
Oh, I missed Taiwan. Thank you.
Thailand.
He's still going. I'm skipping it.
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like, all right, you're racist. I'm not. I know the differences. You don't. That's what it sounds like.
Are you just not attracted to Asian men?
Yeah, I would say that too.
Motherfucker, that's what she said.
Flashback.
You don't date Asian guys?
I've never known.
End of flashback.
It took you 5 minutes.
Okay, you're triggered.
No. After 5 minutes,
you're
he
triggered.
He went. No.
I know. I was there.
She went. I'm not into Asian men. And he went. What about Laos, Taiwan, Mongolia, Japan? Korea, not South, North, China, Malaysia, Indonesia. No? Okay.
5 minutes later.
So now I've like listed all the Asian countries. Can I just ask, are you just not into Asian men?
You're triggered. You're fucking triggered. You're triggered. It's okay.
That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen
in a long time.
It took you 5 minutes to just realize after she'd already said it 3 times. Like, come on, bro. I think this guy's a bit on the spectrum. Not gonna lie.
He's been on the spectrum.
And then, like I said, it's just a thing. Like, I like learning from my man. Like, I like learning about different culture too, and like I like just experiencing new things. But it's like with somebody, if I was dating like a Vietnamese guy, we relate so much. It's
Do
like,
you speak Vietnamese?
I understand it, but I don't speak it.
Okay. Wait, so
what?
You would relate too much to them, and that's
bad.
I know it sounds weird. It's just like I can't
It
can't learn. I can't learn from you, or you can't really like teach me new things about.
Well, you can learn the language.
You just want to like fuck your sensei or some shit. What the hell?
Carry on. Sorry.
Sensei.
Carry on.
I was saying, it sounds like you don't know shit about your own culture.
Just carry on.
Listen, okay, I'm gonna before I just even continue because she's not really saying much. It just sounds like some self-loathing. Like there's some parts of Asian culture that she really doesn't like, or her own culture, and that when she sees other Asian men, those feelings come out. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like, generally speaking. She's saying she can't learn anything. How can you ever know that without ever dating them? It don't even sound like you have that deep of a like connection to the homeland. Like you can only speak the language. You know what I mean? You could tell me you ain't even been around a lot of Asian people. Then you say, I know a lot of guys from Vietnam or what. So I don't know. You say a bunch of confusing stuff, but all of this just sounds like you dislike either being Vietnamese or you just dislike Vietnamese men. That's it.
I care about if he cares about my culture and he wants to learn more about my culture. And my boyfriend right now, he's black.
Surprised.
You are? Okay. Me too. I looked at her. I'm like, she looked like she dates black kids. That's not gonna lie.
And he goes to extremes to try to teach me more about black culture. And he tries to help me understand it better, so that I have a better understanding of him.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just curious.
No, he's very he's done rallies. He's led rallies before.
He doesn't like that.
He's very passionate about his culture, which was why I would say it's unfair of me to disregard it and not want to learn about it more. Because if he cares about it so much, why should I make him feel like I don't care about it?
It says you in regards to Asian people, I guess. I don't fucking know.
Well, I mean, I think it's great that you want to learn about his culture. I just, in terms of an attraction trigger, I've never heard someone say learning about I would not be attracted to someone if I could not learn from their culture. And if that's the case for you, hey, that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know.
It's not just the culture thing. It's just a learning period.
You know what it sounds like? You know what it sounds like?
What?
It sounds like I only date black people with a lot of steps. That's what it sounds like.
Maybe not. Maybe that's just the revelation I did white dudes. It's not like she got a problem with her own culture and she'd rather just be anywhere else. Maybe it's something to learn from her dad. Maybe something to learn from there. But all this talk about all Asian men remind me of my brothers really stupid. I'm sorry. That just is so reductive in how you talk about Asian people in general. It makes them sound singular in personality type or anything. First off, she said all Asian men. That's crazy. Because you best believe, culturally speaking, Japanese are distinctly different than Koreans. Distinctly different from people from Malaysia in terms of climate, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of many other things. It's like when people talk about Africa, it's like, yeah, the temperament in Ethiopia is going to be distinctly different than the temperament in Rwanda, even though they're neighboring countries. Same thing for Somalia or I go all the West Africa. It's just stupid when you do that. Europeans are not all the same. Sorry, somebody in Italy is not going to live the same as somebody in northern UK. It's just not going to happen.
Depending on where in Italy as well. It depends where.
True, south of Italy is completely different than the north.
It's like
it's weird. When I hear goofy stuff like this, I'm like, hey, you got some shit to figure out, but you saying this shit no. That's something that I think it's okay for people to be like, I ain't rocking with that. I don't like it when people say, oh, all white people are the same. It's like, what does that even mean? What does that even really mean? You date one white person, they all remind you of the same white person? That's weird. Or anything. First off, she said all Asian men. That's crazy. Because you best believe, culturally speaking, Japanese are distinctly different than Koreans, distinctly different from people from Malaysia in terms of climate, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of many other things. It's like when people talk about Africa, it's like, yeah, the temperament in Ethiopia is going to be distinctly different than the temperament in Rwanda, even though they're neighboring countries. Same thing for Somalia. Why go all the West Africa? It's just stupid when you do that. Europeans are not all the same. Sorry, somebody in Italy is not going to live the same as somebody in northern UK. It's just not going to happen.
Depending on where in Italy as well. It depends where.
True, south of Italy is completely different than the north. It's weird. When I hear some goofy stuff like this, I'm like, hey, you got some shit to figure out. But you saying this shit like, no. That's something that I think it's okay for people to be like, I ain't rocking with that. I don't like it when people say, oh, you know, all white people are the same. It's like, what does that even mean? What does that even really mean? You date one white person, they all remind you of the same white person? That's weird. No? Is that crazy?
I've seen that. I heard that.
I have heard it too. Every time I hear that.
Yes, it's kind of weird. Yeah. It is kind of weird. I don't know where really it's from, whatever.
No,
maybe have traumas and stuff like that and stuff like that. It could be different for a lot of people, but I've heard that rhetoric a lot. I've heard that. I've heard that from men. I've heard that from men, from women about their own culture. Yes. And they're like, no. Yeah, maybe you know who I've heard, because we're in this country, I've heard that from the most white girls.
What?
Saying, I don't want to date a white boy. So I've heard that much more here.
No. Yeah,
and also, I'm from Long Gay, so.
Yeah. I think that I think a lot of people grow up and they just don't find themselves or their family cool or interesting, and so they consume other cultures through media and find that stuff more engaging and more socially appealing, and so they find like a bit of revulsion towards their own culture and start to fetishize and take a serious interest in others, right? So they'll downplay like, oh, American culture, and then they'll obsess over Japanese culture. You know, they've never been or anything like that. They turn into weebs who dress like Japanese people and konnichiwa and say all this goofy shit. I suspect it just comes from young age, but I could be wrong. So just take my shit for two.
Yeah, they don't think their culture is appealing, and the parts that are appealing to others, they don't want to associate with that. Yeah. And then they veer off to some other thing.
So they think by rejecting it is going to just make them seem more cool and more interesting or whatever it is. But it's like, no, you just sound like a loser for downplaying your own people.
Back in the days, I remember I had some dude. He was the only black emo I knew. I don't care about you listening to that music. I don't care if you're like, what's the worst thing I could say? Like, you do whatever you want to do, right? But he would straighten his hair and put it like, you know, the emo look where you have your hair over here. I don't know, dude, I don't care. You know, that shit. Yeah. Straighten your hair. You became a hope. That's your style. But there was a lot of resentment from his own people. Yeah. And, you know, because his people was rejecting him and stuff like that. There was a lot of bullying. He received a lot of bullying from black people. So he veered off another thing. He didn't like that. It's all reggae, hip hop, none of that. So he went to that stuff and he became that.
I think most of this stuff comes from childhood. I remember even for me for a long time, my mom kept trying to do these like arranged marriages with other Ethiopian girls, and I refused to date Ethiopian girls just to spite her, which is not a good thing. And now at older age, everything's chill. But you know, sometimes it's you not thinking it's cool. Sometimes it's just being forced on you. You know, some people will not want to date people from their own cultures because their parents try to force it on them so hard. It's kind of like religion. You know, if you would have let the kid find it on their own or in their own time, they would have grown. But because parents made such a, you know, effort to like shut you in, you're gonna take this, you're gonna love this, and then you reject it even harder because of how it was pushed on you. You know, so most of the stuff I think comes from, if you actually take time to dissect and relook at it, this comes from your childhood experience with either your culture or whatever the topic is. So, anything else?
Nah.
Let us know what you guys think.
I'll be right back. I just need to take a piss. But when it comes down to it, feel free to drop any comments in the comment section below. I'm going to post the link so you can join the live chat. And yeah, I'm going to be right back. Feel free to just dump comments, questions, concerns. Topics are as usual. Nothing really much different, you know, dietary ethics, EFILism, negative utility, antinatalism, various related topics such as promortalism, psychological hedonism, so on. Basically just dumb questions related to philosophy in the chat if you feel like it. I'll be right back. do 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 do. Pretty much, yeah. I just kind of got to the bottom of the whole you situation, the whole Kayla situation, the whole Wyatt situation. Just kind of figured out what was going on with that. I was like, fuck it, I'm unrelated to this. I'm mutual acquaintances. People tend to like to vent to acquaintances more than they do to like friends. So I was like, let's just figure this out, and I did. So sounds like she's just going through some stuff, a little bit of change. She wants to switch things up. Wyatt situation sounds like it was kind of Wyatt's fault mixed with Kayla's fault. Basically, it was a mix of both people. Originally, one action from Kayla, and then Wyatt just went Wyatt mode and blew it up a little bit too much. So, the whole Maddie situation, I don't really know what's going on with Maddie, but I figured it's fair either way. She sounds like I don't know much about Maddie, but she gives off this a little bit of like elitist Republican vibe, so I don't really know. But yeah, but yeah, I don't really know what's going on with them. But when it comes down to it, I kind of figured out a little bit. It's just kind of, she seems to be wanting to be alone, I guess. I don't know. But I made sure to check on to make sure she's not feeling like suicidal or anything like that, because a lot of people when they start isolating themselves, they feel really suicidal, and she said she's not feeling suicidal, so that's good. She's managing, even if she's managing in a weird way. I am back. How's it going, Kane? Tostitos? Nah, bro. Lay's Funyuns. So basically just chips that taste like Funyuns. Potatoes flavored with onion, basically. Because, what's better than sliced potatoes mixed with onion powder? Fuck yeah. Oh, garlic powder. What the fuck? Oh, no, onion powder and garlic powder. I have both. Interesting. But yeah, basically just was going inside, talking to my mom about a little bit of drama and stuff, my friend groups, Apparently there's like some relationship shit going on with like my friends, and yeah. This morning I just went a little bit of like a Sherlock Holmes mode and was like, let me investigate why these relationship struggles are going on with my friends. And then I relayed the information back to them because I'm a good mate. I like to help my friends out. So I was doing the investigation that they didn't have the balls to do. So it was just that. But basically, my mom was just wondering what the hell I was talking to Sam about. So steal friend's girlfriend, maybe? No, my friend's girlfriend's hot. Almost like 50% of the girls he's dated have been like really hot, actually. Like I'd smash like 50% of his girlfriends in the past. But when it comes down to it, no, I'm not gonna go after this girl because one, she lives in Texas. I live in Wisconsin. I don't do long distance relationships. Two, he's one of my friends, so I'm not gonna do it just because of like that. And three, I don't know. I'm just not really interested in dating anybody right now. I'm just kind of more interested in fuck buddy status type of shit. And frankly, I can't really smash a chick who's living in Texas when I'm in Wisconsin. So when it comes down to it, I'm not really interested in stealing my friend's girl or anything like that. Yeah, man. But maybe. You really never know. It's okay. Got an interview tomorrow at Hy-Vee. Got an interview tomorrow at Domino's Pizza. Got an interview Friday at Bell and Health Security. Good shit. This week is packed, baby. I like it. But at the same time, it's not packed enough. I'm pretty fucking bored right now. So, I wish I had THC, guys. I really do. I ran out of THC like a week ago, and it's not going to come in for another 2 days. It's fucking tragic. Maybe like Brant, it sounds like you have an addiction issue. If not having weed for like 4 days is a tragedy. Now, I would say to you, you're 100% right, but I don't care. Security, a cushy job could be boring. Yeah, man, but I'm okay with boring jobs as long as I don't have to do anything. If I just want jobs, I'm pretty stoic, you know? Like I can meditate and shit. Like I'm big chill. So when it comes down to it, like I'd rather have a job where I don't have to do anything, where there's no responsibilities. It's just make sure nothing bad happens. You don't have to do something that's like objectively productive. You just have to like do something to like prevent deproduction, such as like security violations. I would love that. Just being able to big chill in front of a security camera, sit on my phone, watch YouTube, drive around campus, drive around like a building or something, like drive around Bellin to make sure no one's like doing sketchy shit on the property, walk around the building, make sure no one's like trying to break out, tackle some retarded kid or something, you know? Like that sounds like a pretty easy job, you know. I'm gonna have to fight some mofo every once in a while, but you know, it sounds like way easier than like Coca-Cola where I'm like pulling pallets and like fucking shit like that. Like, I don't know, man. I'd rather just I'd rather have a boring job than a job that requires me to do specific things that I don't want to do. Like doing nothing or doing something I don't want to do, I'm choosing doing nothing. So, nice. Yeah, nice indeed. The perks of being a lazy fucker. I'd rather not get in trouble by messing up, because you can't mess up at a security unless someone like breaks in. But that's like pretty. I mean, you have like a lot of rules against like doing things in one of those cases, so it's kind of like weird. Security is weird. I don't get security, but I'm sure I'll get it once I get trained. Hmm.
We
Listen.
use words to describe concepts we try to understand. So we invent the word wet to describe what water is. We have these words.
That was the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's a label.
I like
And
this
it's
little
like
tickly
most
music,
of our
though.
labels, it just doesn't do the job. I don't see any point in wasting time trying to figure out what makes somebody an official philosopher.
I agree.
There is only one truth. The only real philosopher is the guy who's got that right answer. Finding the right answers, that's the science of philosophy. But in our culture, I guess I would say a philosopher is anybody who writes well sometimes is a philosopher because they gain popularity, or they write sympathetically to popular sensibilities. I mean, great musicians are people who write music that people like. That's the standard. Maybe it's not the right standard, but that's the standard. Power creates power. It feeds itself. It's self-maintaining. In your universe, in your just universe, well, what's inheritance? What is that? Earned? Is inheritance justice? It's idiotic. We're not going to let you inherit your status in this world, and we're going to play this dog-eat-dog world. At least all the dogs should start from the same place. We shouldn't give some dogs, put them, let's put some dogs 3 feet from the finish line. Let's put some dogs up in the grandstand with the trophy already. So all these fancy words, and all this psychological speak, all this terminology, all these stupid words, another human invention. It's all created for what? This is a perfect example of what's wrong with philosophy, what's wrong with atheists. They've decided it's an excuse to be selfish pricks. And there's nothing objective in that kind of thinking. Objectivity leads you to one conclusion if you're an atheist. If you're an atheist and objective, you draw one conclusion. Oh yeah, that we came from nature. We came from these crude forces where nature doesn't care how much suffering it causes, doesn't care how miserable something's death is. It has no ethics, no sensibilities, no intellectual appreciation, okay? It doesn't matter how big a maggot you are, how big a piece of scum you are, success, that all of a sudden that's the victory, you deserve the crown, you deserve the praise. Well, that's bullshit. Justice imposes a whole different standard. You can't, it's crazy. You cannot put these words together. You cannot mix them, okay? Because one word is completely the opposite of the other. Using physics and the laws of probability to defend contrived fairy tale-esque, descriptions of creation. I mean, this is just so ludicrous. I mean, so your premise is that somehow nature can't account for eternity. No, we can't account for it. We can't. Okay, it's not nature. Nature's having a problem with it, I'm sure. You say the universe doesn't have any beginning or end, that nature can account for. Well, what if it doesn't begin or end? What about atheism demands a beginning?
Well, that's weird. That's a weird question. What demands a beginning or end? Well, clearly there's a beginning. I don't know how that works, though. I mean, it's trippy to be as shit. Like, how does a beginning work if there's, what's before the beginning? But, who cares?
I mean, I could speculate. Obviously, I can't go there scientifically. I can't take a spaceship, or I can't play a videotape and know what happened the day before the Big Bang. Obviously, because there's no physical forces existing at that moment. Well, none that we know of. But obviously, there could be forces. I would speculate that before the Big Bang, when all matter is consolidated and frozen, essentially, as far as we understand it, then time is frozen also. And what causes it to thaw? Well, maybe it's a different kind of time, a different kind that you measured in a different way based on physical aging or maturation of some atomic particle. I have no explanation for that. I have no way to explain that physics, but I might require to. I could speculate that it's an oscillating universe, an oscillating process, just like the 4 zillion other examples in nature of things oscillating. Why can't it oscillate? Why can't the universe itself oscillate? Yes, it contracts, it expands, it contracts, it expands, it contracts, it expands. This is over and over and over and over and over forever, ever. But you say, because I can't give you this perfect description of the physics, that therefore the universe must have a spontaneous source, must have a spontaneous instigator, and that infinite intelligence must have poofed out of nowhere, no creator, nothing. No, it just poofed. It just all of a sudden it sat around forever and ever, God, and then one day God said, "Oh yeah, I'll create a universe today, or I'll kick the ball and then create the Big Bang. I'll do the first little poke and initiate the energy that just caused the whole thing to spiral forever and ever and ever." It's just crazy. But we do live in a predictable mechanical universe. I mean, it's like, okay, take a pool table and remove all the friction, and then you see what happens. You move one ball, and then it just goes forever and ever, bounces all over the place, no friction, blah, blah, blah. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. That physical law exists. That's a good one, okay? That seems pretty dang reliable. And so, yeah, the universe always existed. We don't have to explain it to be an atheist. We can see evolution. It exists. I mean, to deny its existence is just
America,
preposterous. I mean,
fuck
this came
yeah,
from
fuck
it was
yeah.
God's plan that for 2 million years, human beings would have an intellect, a mind that worked, and they wouldn't use it for 2 million years, screwing around, acting retarded, even though they had the mental capacity.
Happy 4th of
to write
July,
Shakespeare,
Spirit
if they
Oyster.
just had a culture
Happy 4th of
and some
July.
education. I mean, it's preposterous. What stupid ass
Not that
God
I
would do
really
that?
care
The
about
human man
America,
had to
but
sit there and eat bugs. I mean, it's just
I mean, I'm not very patriotic, but happy 4th of July.
idiotic. The whole premise is just idiotic. You people just want a fairy tale. You want a happy ending. You want us to be able to say, and they lived happily ever after. They're all afraid of the end. They're all afraid of the conclusion. Snow White married the prince, died in childbirth, and Prince Charming got hit by a drunk driver driving their first child home from the hospital. That's the reality. The reality is real life fucks everybody. All right? And there is no fantasy God to come save us all and to where we go, we live eternities and all this other bullshit. I mean, it's just amazing that you use this thin, weak,
If I have any fireworks, I'll make sure to show them. But I don't really think we have many fireworks, if not any at all.
gaps.
Well, we are hosting a party at my place later tonight, so maybe someone will bring fireworks. Who knows?
In our understanding of the physical detail of the universe to excuse preposterous fantasy, preposterous storytelling. It's just crazy. It's just crazy. How can you have the intellect to use words like intellect and words like physics and understand any part of physics and lead to the conclusions you lead to? It's so insulting to your intelligence. You're insulting your own intelligence by resorting to such weak arguments. It's about the truth. The friggin' truth is what we're looking for here. That's what we're arguing about, is what is the truth. It's kind of depressing, but the truth is the truth, whether we like it or we don't like it. I mean, I hate to even suggest that you should do anything but try to be happy. Because maybe there's no point in trying to be honest with yourself, acknowledging all of life's imperfections and dealing with them. I mean, sort of that's what the religious people do. They're just in a big dishonesty trip, and let's find whatever, some placating bullshit, to make us, make them feel better about the world they live in, and make it make sense, make it more comforting. And we all do that, I mean, in little ways, but to do it in big ways, it might work as a happiness strategy. Sometimes you will stifle yourself and miss opportunities because you allow the truth to get in your way. But is there something more important than the truth? It really does get complicated. I'm satisfied with who I am, and that's kind of the best feeling there is. I mean, it's not a party, it's not great sex. It's just this. It's comforting to know that you've tried to be as honest as you can with yourself. You've looked at your own bullshit and the nonsense you get caught up in, and you've tried to live this honorable, decent life, and you're trying to do the best you can and all this, and to be able to just be satisfied with the fact that, yeah, okay, I like who I am. I don't like what I've become. I don't like what I am to the world, but I like who I am to me, inside. I mean, the person inside I don't hate myself or dislike myself or feel dependent on that juvenile notion of perfection or accomplishment.
Christian ants. You should watch Rambo lighting up America's enemies. Rambo watching lighting up America. Yo, man, as much as I want to watch Rambo just go and just light people up, I'm good. I appreciate the offer, though. I mean, it's a good suggestion. But I'm not very much into movie violence. Now, real life violence, now that's different. Now that's sexy. Just kidding. No one wants to work anymore because working is exploitation and life is bullshit. That's why. Let's push this back a few inches. Now let's explore. No, working is not fun at all, Oyster. Working is bullshit, man. It's just exploitation, man. Working is literally just a form of slavery, basically. Like, when it comes down to it, the big man gets paid like 120 to 150 times what you get paid per hour. What is he doing? Not shit for shit. He's not getting paid. He's not getting paid for doing actual work. He's just getting paid for bossing you all around and being like making like a little or company little like presentations. Like, oh, look at this. You can sell this. And then you have entire people dedicated to like selling the product. So exploitation of humans, yeah, basically. Working is just exploitation of human beings, and there's animal edge culture, which is we're constantly just exploiting each other. Like, we're constantly just exploiting Earthlings. Earthlings are just exploiting each other constantly, never not exploiting each other, basically. Like, I'm exploiting you all for views. Just kidding. I love you. Abolish the modern system. If you don't work, no money. Yeah, exactly. It's fucked up. You can't survive if you don't work, and working's a necessary thing because of preconceived ideas of what's required, and yeah, everything's bullshit. Everything's a lie. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab myself a Dr. Pepper, because Dr. Pepper is the best soda in the world. I'm just saying. There's only one soda better than Dr. Pepper, and that is Tropical Smash. Tropical Smash! And Tropical Smash doesn't exist anymore, so the only thing that exists that's really good and worth drinking is Dr. Pepper. Fuck yeah. Dr. Pepper is better than water. It's better than air. It's better than God. I'd worship Dr. Pepper. Coca-Cola? No. Coca-Cola is lame. Coca-Cola sucks. Coca-Cola is better than Pepsi, but Coca-Cola is not as good as Dr. Pepper. Dr. Pepper is the G. You like Fanta? Well, Fanta and Dr. Pepper taste really good when mixed together. You have to do a ratio of about 5-6 Dr. Pepper and then 1/6 orange Fanta, and it tastes fucking amazing, amazing. But Dr. Pepper is the best soda by itself. But if you mix Fanta and Dr. Pepper together, it tastes fucking great. Oh my god, it's euphoric. So, sometimes you have to mix sodas together to get the ultimate combos. It's just a little thing that I'm going to tell you. But when it comes down to it, Dr. Pepper, the best soda there is. A little expensive, but the best soda there is. How does Dr. Pepper taste like? I don't know. Like a sweeter version of Coca-Cola, but not like Pepsi, because Pepsi has like a weird sweetness where it kind of tastes toxic. This is like a crisp sweetness that kind of like vibrates your tongue, and it has like a cherry taste to it. So it's like cherry combined with like a very, very crisp Coca-Cola. It's like Coca-Cola cherry, but way better. I don't know how you describe it. Like, not even remotely like Coca-Cola cherry though. It's like, how do you fucking describe Coca? How do you describe Dr. Pepper? Huh? I don't know. I guess the pepper part of it kind of is like it has like a spicy taste to it. It has like a spice. It's like Coca-Cola mixed with cherry, mixed with a bit of like a spice, like a little bit of like a hint of something fucking. I don't know how to describe it really, but it's really good. All the Dr. Pepper is really good. There's like Dr. Pepper, there's like Dr. Pepper Cherry, there's like Dr. Pepper Vanilla. I personally prefer the Dr. Pepper Original and the Dr. Pepper Cherry, but you can try the vanilla if you like vanilla quite a bit. You don't drink soda very much? Ah, it's fair. I have like a can, maybe 2 a day. So I like caffeine. I like sugar. Sugar's good. Plus the diet ones, the zero sugar ones have 0 calories. And the taste, here's the thing about most diet sodas taste really bad in comparison to the original one. Diet Dr. Pepper and zero sugar Dr. Pepper taste the exact same as the original Dr. Pepper. There's almost no difference in taste, like whatsoever. Like whatever ingredients they use, they do not rely on sugar to make the taste. The taste is really good even without sugar. So when it comes down to it, of all the sodas, Dr. Pepper is probably like the best in terms of both calories per taste wise. And I mean, it's just really good. I mean, I don't drink soda very much. I just drink like a can or 2 a day. But some people don't drink soda at all. So in comparison to them, like I drink a lot. But in comparison to most people, I drink only like 1, maybe 2 cans of soda a day. And Dr. Pepper is like, if I had to choose a soda, I would be Dr. Pepper 100%. Dr. Pepper is just fucking wee good shit. Dr. P. BRB one more time. Again. And I'm back. See, it was really just like a BRB. It was be right back, and I was gone for like 5 seconds. Chips and soda, how typical. Yeah, you're not wrong, man. I'm just an American, bro. American through and through. Just get my chips, get my soda, big vibing. Got my vape, so I got my little chips, I got my soda, I got my nicotine. It's literally just like, how can I be more toxic? So my nicotine is almost out. What the fuck? Speaking of nicotine, I'm gonna be right back again. I literally said I'd be right back, and then I was... Yeah, I'm gonna fill up my nicotine, though. I need more nicotine. Addiction's bad, y'all. Remember that, okay? If you all are addicted to things, seek help. Or don't. I mean, I don't really care. As long as it's not interfering with your life, you do what you want. But if it's interfering with your life, remember, seek help. Help is always around the corner. Just kidding. Or like a guy with a knife. You never know. What the fuck? What do you mean by what the fuck? You mean like my nicotine addiction? What the fuck? Or like what the fuck is in like why am I so sexy? Yo. Or like what the fuck is in like why did you get up like 5 times in the last like 3 minutes? Because, like yeah, either way, what the fuck? Understandable. Sometimes you gotta get your nicotine addiction fixed though, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. That pod is full, and so is my will to live now. My will to live coincides with my amount of nicotine in my system. Just kidding. Kind of. What am I streaming? Well, in the very beginning of the stream, I was talking about bestiality, and then I kind of transitioned to like Buddhism, and then I transitioned into talking about ever. So we talked about a lot of things during the stream so far. We talked about bestiality, we've talked about Buddhism and warfare, we've talked about dating and like culture, and we've talked about a lot of shit. So yeah. You'd be like, why did you talk about bestiality? Well, that is for you to discover if you go back to the very beginning of my stream. What is just not trying to be mean, but what is this content? Just random shit talk? Yeah, basically. I mean, I've already talked about like all that matters. Experience generates value. It's that simple. If people want to debate me on that, I'm constantly here, constantly waiting for people to try to debate me on experience and generation of value. So it's basically just like it's really simple. Reality is really simple. I just trying to hammer in people's skulls, and just like experience, being able to like have a brain and understand what's going on around you. That is where value comes from. And experience breaks down into two things: pleasure and pain. Pain being the most prominent thing in people's lives and the one that has the most value. So basically, my channel is just about trying to explain to people that pain matters and it's everywhere and it's what makes the majority of life. What is antinatalist? Antinatalist Antinatalism is the idea that it's wrong to reproduce, basically. Antinatalism is the idea that reproduction is inherently wrong, that you bring people into existence is a creation of harm and pain for no real justified reason. That's basically what it means, like sum it up really short. Just don't have kids. It's wrong to have kids. There's various reasons for why someone might be an anti-natalist. What do you mean? Okay. I guess there's multiple ways I can explain this. There's native utilitarianism, which is what I believe. Humans or animals too. I mean both. I mean we shouldn't bring animals into existence, and we shouldn't also reproduce humans. So I basically think we should stop breeding animals. We should stop having like farming and stuff like that. We should stop bring. We can live a vegan diet quite easily. So I don't think we should bring animals into existence to suffer and die unnecessarily. But I also think that we shouldn't bring people into existence as well. So I believe it's not necessary to live a happy life or a good life or on a subjective level to bring people into existence. You don't need to have a biological child to live a happy life, is what I'm saying. And given that it's unnecessary to have a child, the food industry is fucked up. Yeah, it's very fucked up, Chappelle. But yeah, basically, yeah, given that it's unnecessary to have children to live a happy life or a good life or whatever you want to call it, and there is inherent harms that come with being alive. So should we stop animals making babies? Yeah, basically. I think essentially what humans have, yeah, in the wild, yeah, basically. I think first we have to kind of figure out what's going on with people first, and try to figure out human suffering. But once we figure out human suffering for the most part and how to deal with a lot of this, we have to transition to animals. And basically, through genetic engineering, we can make things become infertile after multiple generations. Like the recessive gene will activate and then make it so like entire populations become infertile. I think that's probably the best way to do it without nuking the planet. So you want us to die out, all life? Yes, I think it's better off for all life to cease existing than to continue on. As Eastern religion says, like Buddhism and Hinduism, life is pain. This is constantly the most pleasures we can really feel is just like a deprivation of pain, like holding in a piss and the relief from that. The accomplishment of getting a house is basically just getting shelter over your head. Like most of like the greatest achievements in human life or just life in general is just removing a painful experience from ourselves. So I basically feel like humans for sure should die out because we've gone too far. We've reached experience, and now we've kind of realized our own pain. I feel like humans should leave the planet for the rest. What do you mean? I mean, why do you feel like humans should go extinct but not animal life? I'm curious what you mean by that. Because to me, the problems of human life is the same as problems with animal life. It just comes down to like all of our experiences can be broken down into pain. And to me, animals feel far more pain than humans do. And humans feel a lot of pain and they cause a lot of pain. But animals cause a lot of pain too. Like in order for a lion to get a meal, it has to tear apart a gazelle. We destroy so much. Oh yeah, I mean we destroy a lot, but we destroy a lot because well here's the thing. We destroy environments. But when it comes to destroying an environment doesn't have a mind. So destroying an environment doesn't really have any value. Like just cutting a tree down doesn't really have any value. The tree's not thinking. A tree doesn't care if it gets cut down. Leave the animals to rule the earth, but the animals tear each other apart constantly. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, and when a lion rips apart a gazelle for a meal, that gazelle is experiencing far more pain than the lion is experiencing satisfaction from its hunger. So constantly, humans are just other versions of animals. We're just animals as well. So we're destroying things. Other animals are destroying things. We constantly destroy things in order to survive. It's kind of just the nature of life. We exploit things and destroy things in order to take their star energy. That's the best way to put it. Like we're trying to just steal star energy. In order to steal star energy, plants take it up first, and then we eat plants. Well, animals eat the plants, and then we eat the animals and the plants. But we inflict pain on a way larger scale than lions do. Yeah, but that's only because of modern technology. If you look at like animals and if you look at humans in the wild, like wild human animals, like in Africa or like Southern America and stuff, like in like the more like destitute parts of the world, we're not necessarily exploiting, inflicting pain on a large scale. If anything, we kind of end a lot of pain by like trapping and hunting, and we cause things to go into shock. We use weapons to kill things pretty much instantly, so we can get a fresh kill without having a lot of adrenaline in their blood system. You know, because adrenaline makes the meat taste more gamey, and we don't really like that. I guess for some reason, it's been programmed into our taste buds. I guess. So I don't know. To me, it seems like the large scale exploitation of animals and inflicting them pain is just a product of basically animal agriculture, pretty much. Like if we don't have animal agriculture, we're not really causing that much pain in the wild. We're really just removing habitat. And when you remove habitat, you're basically removing things from being able to come into existence. So you're actually removing a lot of harm from existence because things can't suffer if they don't have an environment to thrive in. It'll just die off, and if you're dead, you can't suffer. So, in my opinion, basically humans actually have limited a lot of suffering in life. Like I think humans have done a lot of good on accident. That's the quote, on accident. We have done a lot of good on accident. We're not purposely doing good. We don't. I don't know. You'd have to explain why we don't do good because, to me, something not suffering is a good thing. And so, but the fact that we have concrete jungles, like for every parking lot there is, that's a whole entire forest, a couple acres of a forest where there's not being suffering, not tearing each other apart, not eating each other, not raping each other, all these things, like all these horrible things that happen in nature, what is not happening in a parking lot because the parking lot's just concrete. And to me, I feel like humans have done a lot of good, just unintentionally. We didn't do it on purpose. We're doing it because of greed and capitalism, but we've done a lot of good on accident. I feel we should try to be gone. Why don't you start? Well, that's a little bit of a mean thing to say. Well, here's the thing, buddy boy. I'm a negative utilitarian, not a deontologist. I don't think we should be gone because of gone's sake. I don't feel like there's something inherently good of being gone. I think there's something bad with pain, and pain's all that matters. All that matters is pain. We break down to beings that are made of memories, and those memories are made out of experiences, and those experiences break down to pleasure and pain, and primarily just pain. So, getting into that, Why don't I just kill myself? Well, because if I kill myself, that just eliminates one husk, one being, one of 8 billion people, and one of trillions upon trillions of animals. Now, if I can convince people to go vegan, that makes it so we don't bring animals into existence. That's one life right there. Animal agriculture not brought into existence. 2, not bringing people into existence. So I can convince people not to bring people into existence. That's another good. 3, if I can convince people to want to exterminate all life on Earth and to advocate for that, that's another whole entire good that's being occurred. So basically, if I eliminate myself, that's just one body. One body gone. Goodbye. No longer me suffering, which is good. It's good that I'm no longer suffering if I kill myself. But it also makes it so a bunch of exploitation continue going on. Like if Martin Luther King killed himself, slavery would still be going on basically. Now, sure, Martin Luther King could eliminate his suffering and he could be no longer a slave by just blasting his brains out. If you're dead, you're no longer a slave. You're no longer being. I mean, not that Martin Luther King was a slave. He was more just being like he wasn't a slave. But I mean, if you're no longer being exploited, and like by a different race, you can do that by just blasting your brains out. You're no longer being exploited if you're dead. But is also another way to stop exploitation of everybody, which is to convince people in the population that exploitation is wrong. So you could stop your own exploitation by just killing yourself, or you could try to stop that exploitation to everybody. And that's pretty much what we're doing with negative utilitarianism and EFILism. Sure, we could just blast our brains out, but that only solves one person of the 8 billion and trillions upon trillions of animals. But if you can convince other people to do the same as yourself, then that's a lot different. Not that I'm trying to convince people to kill themselves, I'm trying to convince people to not reproduce. I'm trying to convince people to be getting into the genetic engineering fields and stuff like that. Basically, I'm a philosopher. I'm the guy that convinces people, and then there's people that don't want to think and they just want to do things to make money. And those people can learn to be little genetic engineers and stuff like that. That's kind of how I look at it. Hope that answers your question. That being said, I attempted to commit suicide like 3 weeks ago for the first time in my life. So, when it comes down to it, life feels pretty much useless. Like, like nothing is really of value. If you feel we should be gone, why don't you? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I'm just talking to Chappelle on Twitch, at Dave. He's basically just saying like, oh, like if you think people are inherently bad and you think animals are inherently bad, why don't you kill yourself? And I'm basically just explaining why killing yourself is I could commit suicide. I mean, I almost did like a week or two ago. Like 3 weeks ago, I was on the end of a rope, just kind of like, just leaning against her, like rope pushed against my neck, suffocating. But I was pretty close to dying. But ayo, the rope kind of broke, came undone. So when it comes down to it, no. I saw your latest foot video. Oh fuck yeah, there you go. Hell yeah. Thanks, my dude. But when it comes down to it, yeah, there's no reason to commit suicide unless you think that you're producing far more pain than you can prevent. If you can prevent more pain than you can cause in the universe, then you should live. If you will cause more pain in the universe than you will prevent, then suicide's a logical choice. But sometimes life's just hard, man. So people do things even if they don't have logical reasons to do them. And sometimes life just feels really nihilistic and pointless as well. So that's why I did what I did like 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. So suicide is always an option, Dave, but it's not always the best option. Suicide is always an option. Everybody can easily kill themselves, and killing themselves just means a lack of experience. It's just a vanishing out of existence, a reset of the mind, so to speak. Just goodbye, back to what it's like in the 1700s, where you didn't exist. Just as I don't miss the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s, or the 1900s. Really, I cannot miss what it's like for me not to exist in the future. So, suicide is not bad for the one who dies, and it's always an option. It's just not the best option for all people. So, I agree and disagree. People need you here on Earth. Yeah, they need me here on Earth. They need me. But people like Osama bin Laden, people like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Elon Musk or like hell, my mom or dad, people like them, they aren't really needed. If they were to die, it would be doing the world a favor. So it's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, if you say like suicide is never an option for me, then I'd say it's not never an option. It's not an option right now because I'm a moral agent and I have an obligation to live, I guess. But in the future, once I'm no longer productive, then it would be an option. That's horrible to say. Indeed, it is horrible to say, but it's the truth. The truth is almost always a horrible thing, Dave, unfortunately. The truth's a really horrible, scary thing. And it disturbs the mind of people who have evolutionary programming very much and installed in themselves. Like if you're programmed to care about your social species, you will be very much disturbed by the idea that most people on the planet are better off not existing. But I think it's except Elon and Jeff, they can go. Hey, you're 100% right. Fuck Elon and fuck Jeff. But 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 when it comes down to it, yeah, I mean, I feel like most people on the planet are kind of a blight. Here, I can pull up a paper. Peters, you need to take care of your parents when they're older. No, I don't. My parents, I don't owe my parents shit for shit. They brought me into this world unnecessarily. I'm gonna die because of them. I'm suffering because of them. My best friend killed themselves, and I never would have experienced that if I wasn't here. Um, every single bad thing that has ever occurred in my life is because of them, and every good thing in my life, what are they? What are the good things in my life, really? Like like I really don't have any good things in my life that I can really point to that aren't just like socially programmed things from billions of years of evolution that aren't really good, but really in reality are just they're just needs being projected upon myself. I create the need, and then the need gets fulfilled, and I feel like something good has happened. But really, nothing good has happened. It's just like I have friends. My friends, I wouldn't need friends if I didn't have evolution to program me into being a social species. So it's like there's no real good of having friends. It's only good because I have a social need to not feel depressed. I have a need to feel socially involved. So nothing really good has happened in my life. Nothing really good has happened in your life. Nothing really good has happened in anybody's life, really. But when it comes down to it, there's a lot of programming that makes it feel like good things have occurred. So I don't owe my parents anything. They don't. I don't owe them at all. In fact, they owe me a fuck ton for bringing me into this hellhole. But yeah, that's the way I look at it, at least. So I don't owe them shit. They owe me a fuck ton, but they don't do shit for me. So besides just provide a roof for my head, which is like the bare fucking minimum they can do. So, besides the bare minimum, which is putting a roof over my head and feeding me, yeah, it's just kind of like, what do I owe them? Nothing. Any good that has happened is just like a product of evolution and things that I've done for myself. Well, all the bad is just because they brought me here. So that's kind of how I look at it. It is a bit of a yikes, but when it comes down to it, I think the world's a pretty big yikes, my dude. Not gonna lie, the world's pretty scary. There's a lot of yikeses going on. So they took care of you from baby to now. I mean, yeah, but that's their obligation. They brought me into existence. They have to take care of me. If they didn't, that'd be a horrible person. If you bring someone into existence to just let them decay and die, you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're a good person if you're doing your bare minimum obligation, you know? Like not raping a person doesn't mean you're a good person. It just means you're doing like the bare standard. And it's the same with like raising a child. Like, you know, letting a child decay and die because you brought him into existence, that's fucking horrible. Doing the bare minimum, which is letting the person that you forced into existence have a decent subjective experience, and that's the bare minimum. That's I don't owe them anything for that, you know? I don't know. It's just like, you know, if I have a desire to punch someone, I shouldn't have the ability to punch someone. Just as like if they desired not to raise me, they shouldn't have the ability to not raise me because they brought me into existence. They have an obligation to be taking care of me. Same as though, have you voiced these things to someone? Yeah, I have. I've voiced them on my channel to everybody. My parents know my points of view. I've talked to psychiatrists. I've talked to therapists. Everybody knows my perspective. People just think I'm wrong or they think I'm too logical and think too much. They're like, "Oh, Brant, you think too much. We're gonna put you on antipsychotics to slow your brain down." Like, actually, that's what they did. They put me on antipsychotics because they thought I think too much and that I need to slow my brain processes down. So, yeah, I've talked to people about these things, but all they do is just be like, "Well, I'm sorry, but you have too much thoughts going on in your head. You think too much. You're basically just in a constant state of like over processing the world." So yeah, I mean, I've talked to people about it. It's just not very useful to talk to people about it. I do it because it's fun. And it's useful. I mean, venting's useful for the self, but it's also I think that I have valuable things to say. So I vent them on my channel because hopefully people can get some good things from them. But in reality, is I don't think there's very much point to talking about it very much. I mean, you know, it is what it is. After you get a job, why would I have an obligation to help my parents after I get a job? My parents are no different than anybody else on this planet. That's like saying I have an obligation to help like some random stranger because I got a job. Which, yes and no. Do I have an obligation to help anybody in need if I have the ability to provide for them? Yes. But that doesn't mean I have an obligation to provide specifically for my parents. If I had a job and I could provide for a homeless person, I would have an obligation to provide for the homeless person. I'd have an obligation to provide for a friend that's going through some desperate struggles. We basically just have obligations to beings that are having an experience that's negative. We have experience generates value, and if there's a negative value occurring as a moral agent, you have an obligation to try to stop that if you can. So, if you're asking like, do I have an obligation to take care of them as my parents after I get a job? No. Do I have an obligation to take care of people in general after I get a job? Yes. And Dave says I need a trip to Disney World. I hate Disney World, bro. But I appreciate I've been there before, but I've been to Disney World before. My parents have brought me to Disney World before. Like, I've been there. My parents are good people in terms of comparatively speaking. My parents are not bad people. I just acknowledge that every single thing that has potentially ever been good in my life is just essentially just evolutionary programmed into me to be experience as good, even though it's not good. So even Disney World is just like boredom fulfillment and social need fulfillment and a bunch of other fucking random entertainment fulfillment. Like it's just like I'm bored, so I need to go to do something that's fun. And Disney World's fun, amusement parks are fun. Like all these things are just like fulfilling unnecessary needs. Like if I was already satisfied, I felt great at home. Like I just loved being at home. Then I wouldn't want to go to Disney World. Disney World would be an inconvenience. The road trip would be an inconvenience. The people and the strangers and the price would be an inconvenience. Like all that would just be like, why would I want that? It would just be like a waste of time. But due to the fact that there's boredom in my regular life, we need change, and we need to change things up basically. So Disney World has value only because of that, but not because there's any like inherent good in going to Disney World. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I hope you get what I mean. Like all these things that are good aren't actually good. Like all these things that are fun, they're subjectively fun, but they're only fun because of things of billions of years of programming, and you don't actually need to have them. Like if you could be satisfied without them, you're better off doing that. That's kind of what I mean. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Mean. There's a hopping spider on my can of Dr. Pepper. Get away from me, Mr. Hopping Spider. Now it's on my leg. So you're a minimalist? Yeah, I am a minimalist. I'm a minimalist, and I guess yeah, you can say I'm a minimalist, but I'm more of like a philosophy person. So in terms of like lifestyle, I'm a minimalist, but in terms of like a lot of minimalists are just like you need to minimize your desires, and I'm a minimalist in terms of like minimizing desires. But I don't think I'm not like a minimalist in like a Zen sense. I'm not like a Zen minimalist. Like Zen Buddhists are like, you must minimize all desires till you do not care at all. If there's a knife in your chest, you just need to minimize the desire to remove the knife from your chest because pain is a delusion. I'm not like that. I'm not like that extent. But I'm like a minimalist in because I believe experience generates value and like pain is inherently valuable. So I don't believe like I'm not a delusional person, but I do believe that like we should like minimize desires to the maximum extent that we can. But there are certain desires that we cannot minimize and get rid of, and those ones we have to acknowledge. So like I am a minimalist, but I'm not like a Zen minimalist. I'm pretty minimalistic, but I'm not like so minimalistic that I like disassociate from reality, and I'm just like, yeah, man, if you're just like starving to death, bro, just like stop desiring food, man. Like I'm not like crazy minimalist. Like I'm not like fucked up my level of minimalist, but I am a minimalist. So, because there are minimalists out there who are just like completely detached from reality, and they're like rich as shit, making like 200K a year, and they're just living in like a. Do you care about materialism or no? No, not at all. I don't care about material values at all, really. I mean, I do and I don't. Like, I like playing video games. I like drinking alcohol. I like smoking weed. So I care about the material world because I'm forced to. Evolutionarily speaking, I'm forced to care about the material world. But in terms of like actual value, I don't value anything material. I don't think there's any inherent value in the material. There's only value in experience and like what our brains make. Um, so no, I don't really care about materialism very much. I like money. Money is useful. It's really good for intrinsic stuff. Like I need not intrinsic. It's like instrumentally good, as what I meant to say. So like I need to pay bills. I need to eat food. I want to be able to hang out with friends and have a good time. I want to be able to smoke my friends up when I'm hanging out with them and stuff. So money is good. Money is pleasant, but at the same time, I don't really think there's any inherent value. You wouldn't get excited at a new car. No, I mean my car is a 2017 Corolla, and I didn't feel anything when I bought it. Nothing. No sense of accomplishment when I moved out of my parents' house and lived on my own for 2 years. No sense of accomplishment when I got myself a new car. No sense of accomplishment when I got a phone, a red light, a PS5. nothing really makes me feel good, really. I mean, I pretty much just feel okay or bad. I don't really feel good very often, if that ever. And if I do feel good, it's mainly because I'm hanging out with friends or people that I enjoy being around, not because of material things at all. So, yeah, I guess a good way to say that is I don't really value the material very much, and even a new car wouldn't really bring excitement to me. Don't you feel valued? Yeah, I feel valued. I mean, I know my parents value me. I have like tons of friends. All my friends value me. My subscribers, they value my presence. I mean, I have tons of regular subscribers that are constantly in my voice chat and stuff like that. What if your parents bought you a luxury apartment? I'd appreciate it. Like, I'd genuinely appreciate if my parents bought me a luxury apartment, but I wouldn't like be happy. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be excited about it. I'd just be like, "Oh, cool, a place to live." My parents have offered to pay for my college. My parents have offered to pay for college dorms for me is a good way to explain this, and I've said no because it's cheaper to live at home for them. I just don't see any inherent value in much of anything. Like, I don't get pleasure from living alone, privacy and stuff. Like, I feel more comfortable, but I don't get excited and I don't get like pleasure. I don't get like does getting compliments at work make you happy or at least like a minimum sense of satisfaction? Yeah, yeah. Compliments and stuff like that make me feel good, but it doesn't necessarily make me feel excited or anything. Like it makes me feel like I'm like sufficient, I guess. Like it makes me feel like I'm doing something good, but I don't necessarily feel happy or excited or any like real like strong emotion. I just kind of like get like a little bit of a feeling like instead of wanting to like blast my brains out, I'm like, I feel okay right now, you know? So it's like I don't know how to describe it, I guess. The best way to say is it's like I don't feel happy, but I feel content, I guess is a good way to say that. I feel content with like my state of being, with people give me compliments, but I don't necessarily feel happy. Hello, hopping spider. No, get over here. I'm just messing with a hopping spider. There's a hopping spider crawling on my computer, and I'm just like, hello, little friend. And then he's just like, ah, giant thing. And he's just like thinking there's like a kaiju trying to kill him, and I'm just like, hello, little thing, come in my hand. So it's adorable. I love hopping spiders. Jumping spiders, hopping spiders, same difference. I like to call them hopping spiders because hopping sounds a little bit more cute than jumping spider. So jumping is just a boring word. Hopping is a cute word. Adorable. Very much the uwu. Antidepressants can numb you. I already have. Yo, my dude. Dave, I'm just going to tell you. My dad's on antidepressants. My dad was shocked when I told him what level of antidepressants I'm at because I take the same amount of antidepressants as my dad does. He like works like 40, 60 hours a week and sits on his ass all day watching TV and has like a fucking failing marriage practically. So when it comes down to it, like I take antidepressants and I take antipsychotics for major depressive disorder because my antidepressants aren't strong enough to actually stop me from being depressed. So they gave me antipsychotics as well to hopefully increase the strength of my antidepressants and slow down my thoughts a little bit so I don't get as depressed from thinking. So basically, I have antidepressants and I have stuff to slow down my thinking so that I don't think as fast, so that hopefully I don't get as depressed because of negative thoughts. So yeah, I'm already drugged the fuck up, my dude, and it doesn't really help very much. I still think fast, maybe not as fast as I did before, but I still think really, really, really fast. And when it comes down to it, I'm still depressed. Not as depressed as I was, but I still hate being alive. Like from an intellectual level, I can understand like all this is bullshit. Like I can feel fine. Like right now, I feel fine. Like if you can tell, like I'm have like a slight smile on my face. Like here like you can tell, like I have like slight smile on my face. Like just a little bit in like the corner of my lips. Just a little bit. And, and smiling makes you feel happy. I mean, statistically speaking, like if you smile for 5 seconds, you're gonna be you smile for 5 seconds, you'll feel a little bit better. And I program myself so I smile as much as possible. So I feel fine most of the time. I just still have depression at the same time. Like I feel fine, and then like random waves of suicidality will like sweep over me because of like just like random feelings, but also a mix of like intellectual things. Like whenever I think of my friend that committed suicide, I get like really depressed because like many reasons. And yeah, I mean, just like life in general, as I've explained, I think is really horrible. And just constantly a deprivation is what pleasure is, and pain is real as fuck. So I don't know, man. I try to numb myself as much as possible. That's why I smoke weed. That's why I take antidepressants. But does it help? A little bit. Does it help enough to make life worth living? Not really. Does it is life worth living because I can prevent suffering? Yeah. Do I need drugs to continue living? Probably not, but I do it anyways because I want to feel better while I'm alive here. So I don't know, man. They can numb you, but they can't make things better. And sometimes when you're numb, it just allows you to feel the pain all that more strongly sometimes when it comes. That's kind of what I've noticed is like antidepressants will numb you, but if it doesn't completely get rid of the pain, then the pain just feels that much stronger in comparison to absence of regular feeling. But that's just my opinion. What do I know? Do 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 do. Well, I think around the 3 hour mark, I'm gonna end the live stream for a little bit, just a little bit, and then I'm gonna start it back up again. But I might like do like a little sing along and shit like that, because right now we haven't done anything that'll give me a copyright struck, so I'm completely good. I'm Gucci. I can upload this video, and I'm not gonna get anything taken down. But if I were to sing some songs on here, by playing videos, it would definitely get the video copyright struck. So I'm gonna like end the video around the 3 hour mark in like 10 minutes here, and maybe a little bit less than 10 minutes. I might just end in like 5 minutes. But in like 5 minutes, I'm gonna end this live stream and just do my thing for a little bit, and then go back to live streaming again a little bit later. But I'll do content that may or may not get me copyright struck. So. Do 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 do. Let's end this video as we always do with an amendment video from Great Child.
this capacity to feel the value of this stupid game. The point is that you like things and you dislike things. It's good when you have things you like, and it's bad when you have things you don't like. All you people do is eat and fuck. I mean, that's the basic mechanism motivating, pushing you through your life. It's just an addiction game. There's nothing else going on. This is a swamp that we're part of. You can't trivialize it. You can't underestimate the importance of it. It's just bullshit. And you people keep pretending like you don't have enough knowledge to know that we suck. No, we have plenty of knowledge. We have all the knowledge we goddamn need to know we fucking suck. You can't justify your behavior by pointing to ignorant animals and saying they're doing it. You have to account for it in the context of you having a brain, asshole. It's just bullshit to play that game, to sit there and just laugh it off. It's not funny, you fuckers. Try to be as least a blight as possible. An asshole who's got to exploit the rest of the fucking world to have your iPod, iPhone, all the other crap. I mean, I don't really want to wish absolute horror on you, but I hope you get mentally ill. I hope you get brain cancer. And for 10 years, they torture you in some fucking institution until you wise the fuck up and actually put up your fucking hand and say, oh yeah, I get it now. There's suffering on the fucking planet. I get it. And that we decide how much there's going to be. You stupid motherfucking bastards. I mean, you're just so fucking trivial and silly and stupid. Fucking goddamn, I get so fucking pissed off. I feel like breaking my fucking fist every fucking day and just saying, I want to just fucking punch you fuckers in the face. I mean, it's just so fucking goddamn insulting to suffering to sit there and call it a big fucking joke. It's not a fucking joke, you assholes. And I wish I could point that out to you. I just wish I could put you in the fucking camp. I wish I could strip you of your dignity and strip you of every peaceful moment you experience in your existence and just put the horror all on you. Put every bit of the fucking road kill or road half kill, which is even worse, put you in a fucking ditch with a broken hip, slowly bleeding out, and have you live that shit forever. Because you deserve it, you fucking goddamn clowns. You fucking morons. You have to sit there and talk to you people like you're all in fucking kindergarten. Well, this is what a pain is, and this is what a pleasure is. And pleasures, I think, are good, and I think the pain thing is bad. You people can't figure out you're addicted to this shit? That sushi isn't great by itself? Like sitting on a dish in the middle of the fucking universe, you could have a whole fucking planet made out of fucking sushi. Is it doing anything? Is it good? No, it takes an asshole human to make it worth anything, because he's going to get off on it. Shouldn't we maximize the equation and have people who actually get off by making other people happy, by actually sauteing carrots for them, being decent, honest, sensitive, caring? There's going to be a qualitative reality, and you're going to impact it. You're going to be responsible for it. It's just idiotic to sit there and say it doesn't matter.
Well, any final questions, concerns, things on dietary ethics, negative utility, EFILism, promortalism, psychological hedonism, literally anything? You can ask me a question about I don't fucking know, like what does my tattoo mean? Like, why is my skin so yellow? Like, you can ask me like whatever you want. Like, fucking, you can just ask me like whatever you feel like asking me, and I'll answer the question. But only for another minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Well, I'm gonna close up the stream. A second here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Click, 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 click.